Hello and welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. Today we will be talking about a book that a dear fellow journeyer and sibling has written about her own life and her journey from medicine to miracles. Welcome. Hello.
Hi there.
So, would you like to tell us about how you moved from medicine to miracles and how you got to know A Course in Miracles?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you perfectly.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, so I first came to the Course in Miracles by reading this small little book by Dr. Jerry Jampolsky called Love is Letting Go of Fear. And many of your audience, I'm sure yourself, you're probably familiar with this book and A Course in Miracles. So I got curious because I had been really wanting to understand healing at deeper and deeper levels. And so I just picked up the book, The Course in Miracles, and it was at that time those 3 hardcover volumes. And I would open the book and it would be very beautiful and at the same time very confusing. Like I would look at the lessons at the beginning, the beginning lessons, which many of you are familiar with. Nothing I see means anything. I've given everything all the meaning it has and all of that. And I would just close it because it didn't make sense to me. And something inside also, there was a sense if I really went deeper with these teachings, my life would change radically. And somehow that provoked a sense of fear. So that was my initial introduction. But what was amazing is that those books, so that was, I don't know, somewhere in the early 1990s or so. And the book stayed with me. All the places I did training and residency and moving, somehow they always stayed with me. And then some years ago, I was facing some really difficult challenges personally and somewhat professionally. And I still had those books in my basement. So I just went downstairs and picked them up. And this time I was smart. Something told me to find a group and find teachers to work with me. And it was a whole different journey. So that's sort of just a little bit about how I came to study the Course.
Yeah, great. You know, the fun thing is I also heard about A Course in Miracles for the first time in the book Love is Letting Go of Fear. So we have something in common.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, yeah, then I would like to know how this impacted your view on the body and physical healing, as medicine is mostly focused on the body.
Yes. Yeah. So I was pretty lucky because the medical program I trained at in New York City had what's called a biopsychosocial model. So it was already helping us look at a person in those dimensions, the biology, but also the psychology and where they were socially, their social environment. So that was like a kind of a step that it wasn't just the body. And then I ended up doing training in pediatrics. I trained as a pediatrician. And when you work with a child, you have to really see them in a holistic way, and they can't even talk sometimes. So you have to be very intuitive and listening to the parents and their environment and school. So I think already Spirit had me in places where my mind was being trained to think in a more global, holistic way. And then something within me was wanting to expand that. So I really searched out resources. I read whatever I could, like Deepak Chopra, Bernie Siegel, Louise Hay, all these different teachers that were talking about the role of, like Deepak Chopra wrote that book, Quantum Healing, and Bernie Siegel, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, and so forth. And I would be the person in my medical school or among my friends that bring those people or some other speakers to talk about alternative ways to heal. So I think that was always there, and really I think Spirit works with you where you are. So once I did my training, I just felt like I wanted to explore other ways to help children heal. So I did like a yoga teacher training. I studied homeopathy. So for several years, I practiced what's integrative approaches to health and healing. So that was like a nice stepping stone. Then I went deeper with homeopathy, and I would spend a lot of time listening. Like I would be, because I wasn't in that uh, regular format of what a traditional doctor would have to do. I'd have more time. So I would just, I could feel the joining that would happen between me and the so-called patient. Like before they would say something, sometimes I would feel it, like that's their answer. Or sometimes they would have a lot of emotional healing that would happen because they hadn't felt safe to express something. So there would be a lot of emotional release. So I feel like spirit was just giving me those stepping stones, and I would just know when it was done. Like I would feel like, okay, now the mind, something more is needed. And I could feel like there would be a resistance. I'd feel unhappy. And I would just follow whatever came. So when the Course in Miracles came, that was like the second time around, it was like maybe, oh gosh, I'd say 2011 or so, 2012. And it really started to move things really, really quickly. And I ended up having to kind of let the practice go. And then I had some chronic pain myself, which was another opportunity, another forgiveness opportunity. And I was working with people with chronic pain. So that was a real, it wasn't easy, but it was one of those real openings where I really had to let go of everything I thought I knew, not just Western medicine, but even traditional, like even complementary medicine, even that. And even what I knew about the Course in Miracles, I even had to let that go and really go deeper, deeper. And luckily, I had a lot of support. I had a lot of other students and teachers with me. And then when I had this healing from this pain, I still had some medical procedures and stuff, but it was spirit was like used everything, the doctors and the hospital and surgery, as well as mind watching, mind training, all of that, doing the lessons, joining. And then when I came out of that, I knew there was like something more. And that's where I let go of the medical practice completely. And I started what I'm doing now, coaching for inner peace.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, you know what I was told by Yeshua once was that hospitals are holy ground because so many grievances and so many things are let go of there. So it's very beautiful.
That's
To,
beautiful. Yeah, thank you. That is beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, so there's a lot we learn as we journey on, and why don't we go into some practical examples? Maybe you would like to relate one of your experiences or with someone you had a particular experience with, or yourself, or maybe even your experiences with your family and friends.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so in my book, I share this journey from medicine to miracles, and I feel that many of us, if we think about the field of medicine, you said you had the message of how it can be like healing holy ground. I believe you said how hospitals can be holy ground. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the miracle, right? That's the miracle. But when we enter into it, we're in the realm of medicine. And when I say medicine, I really refer to that often is based on fear. It's based on fear. And so the journey from fear into love is the miracle. That's really what it is. And I feel so many of us might be facing some challenges where we're like, I would love to have a miracle. I would love to have a miracle. And I remember feeling that way when I was in this chronic pain, like, why can't I just have a miracle? And there's a beautiful line in the Course that says, miracles are everyone is entitled to miracles. However, purification is needed. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it, that we can all receive miracles, but purification is needed. And it took me a while to understand that this isn't like because a lot of times when we have illness, especially I feel if we're on a spiritual path and we're doing something like the Course in Miracles, we can often carry a lot of guilt, like something is wrong with us, something.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and that's not I was shown that's not the purpose of at all the Course in Miracles. It's here to free us. So that could be like a misuse where the ego mind gets ahead and starts to misuse these teachings to bind us and not free us. So when I went into this experience and I had this chronic pain, I remember I was guided to work with doctors. Like I had a surgeon that I had been working with. I even at times consulted with a homeopath if that felt guided. I let myself rest. I let myself talk to friends like that I felt safe with. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of walking and taking time. You know, it was pain, so I couldn't do a lot of like movement and stuff, but I did what I could, whatever felt like okay to do. And I saw myself open where I had been in resistance to like medicine and even, you know, surgery. And I had had a surgery previously and everything that could go wrong went wrong. But this time, when I went on board with the surgery, I had all this mind training and I was really feeling like I've done everything I can, so show me, you know, Spirit, show me and lead the way. That would be my prayer, you know, like the prayer that's, I don't know which lesson, but, you know, show me where to go, show me who to talk to, lead me about what I am to say, when and where, like really asking and asking and asking. And sometimes it would be, go call this person or go take a walk or watch this movie. And I just did whatever came, like whatever the next step is, and trust. And I realized when I ended up, you know, going into the surgery, like it was this experience where all of my previous ideas and beliefs about hospitals and surgeons and medications and doctors were all washed away. And so all I felt was love. There was just love and light. And my pain had already gone away just in the process of that washing. So I used a tool called Levels of Mind, which David Hoffmeister created, and it's one that I share in the book. He's got a website about it. It's very easy to find and use. And I would just sit with myself and go through that, like what's underneath what I'm saying, seeing, my perception. What am I feeling? What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs? And I would keep coming back to the desire, and it would always be a choice between letting some sort of fear, thought-based system, belief, idea, concept, letting it go, letting it be purified. So I remember those times as being challenging, but also really beautiful because I felt my trust in spirit really, really deepened. And I could really feel that pain is an experience that seems to be in the body, but the underpinnings are held in the mind. And as we're shown how to let that go, there can be healing, but at the same time, it's okay to use physical agents. It's not like you have to say no to the system of medicine. So wherever you find yourself, spirit will use those tools. Will use, you know, the symbols that are best suited to your healing and recovery. And that's also the important message of the book. It's from medicine to miracles, but that the miracle can use everything. So nothing is excluded. That was my experience.
Yes, that makes sense. We need to accept that everything is happening for our good, and so we need to use what is there and allow it to be used by Spirit for our own good and for everyone else's good. Yeah, and it's a very, very important topic. I spoke a little about it in a previous podcast about how allowing what is to be there and to love oneself in the process.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. I might like to look at it. Maybe let's have a look at the idea of how, even though medicine is the traditional way in Europe and in America and in some other countries, the allopathic medicine is the usual one. In social and cultural anthropology, we call it biomedicine. And how how we can come from A Course in Miracles and how Spirit can use the whole system and add to it the dimension that actually heals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it's this process where I'm doing the course lessons again from the beginning of the year, and I feel those beginning lessons are so crucial because, like, for example, if we think about the placebo effect, now medicine talks about that, the placebo effect, and I share about that in my book as well. And I remember studying it as a medical student and thinking, wow, this is so fantastic, the placebo effect. And at that time, that was like the late 80s, it still wasn't so accepted. Like now at Harvard, they have a whole department devoted to just studying placebo, like not if it works, but how it works and how it can be utilized. And so it's really exciting to know that, you know, there are people that are they're studying that. And then if we look at the Course in Miracles, the first two lessons, nothing I see means anything. I have given everything, and lesson two is I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. And basically that's what the placebo effect shows, that when people are told something will be helpful, and particularly if they're told this information by someone they trust, a physician, a nurse, a caretaker, anyone in the helping profession, then they are likely to believe that. And I would see that with the clients I worked with. Once they had that good rapport with me, they just had this trust. And so it's sacred. You know, we're here to work with that trust so that it allows for healing. So the course will talk about magic and miracle. And so the miracle is the power of the mind to accept healing. But magic are medicines of all sorts. Anything can be magic. This conversation we're having could be magic. Someone hears that and feels, oh, this is what really helped me, right? It can all be magic. And yet, if we were to say, well, no, I just want the miracle, I'm not going to do that. And I remember thinking like that. Then we're like interfering. Then we're letting the ego decide the plan. And as you said, we're not allowing spirit to, you know, be in charge and show us that everything can be helpful. So I feel that it's really exciting when we can see these connections. And what I found a lot of time, sometimes we can say things like, you know, the course teaches this isn't real and that's not real. But I feel like we have to be careful because we can make like spiritual bypasses and use denial inappropriately. And that can actually delay our healing, and it can bring us into a space of self-judgment and maybe judgment of another, which we know is not helpful. You know, that will not help in the healing process. So I feel there's so many, it's almost like if if we allow ourselves that space to like sit with these lessons and be in stillness, then I feel that there are new connections, like if we were to do like a scan or one of those PET scans, we would see new pathways being connected, new connections. And I feel like, what is that? Those are, to me, those are miracles where you see something differently. You know, you just see it differently. Something is there that was always there, but you didn't see it. So for me, it can be very ordinary, right? Miracles can be ordinary. So we're being invited not to like get so busy that we have to, because someone could be facing something, and it's not like saying, well, drop your doctors, drop your medicine and run away from the world and, you know, just take your course book. I feel like it's more like be where you are and, you know, let spirit retranslate everything. Let spirit be in charge. And as you know, when we end the lessons, that's where it ends with is, you know, I give this all over to you, be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction and guidance would lead me to peace. And that was my key thing when I was facing that pain. When I kept trying to heal myself or fix myself or figure out what I had to do, you know, it was my resistance. I was doing the best I can. It's when I just said, okay, I'm not in charge, and I really don't have control over this body. I don't have control over really anything, but I can choose peace, and I can ask spirit to help me. Like, I want peace. I want peace regardless. And I remember that was like one of those defining moments where there was this deepening surrender. And it was probably within a couple of weeks of that my pain was gone. It was healed.
Wow, that's very significant, and I think it will help a lot of listeners to hear that. Yeah. I like the Jerry Jampolsky with his AH attitudinal healing. He has this description of what health is, that health is actually inner peace.
Yes.
What do you say to that?
Well, it's funny. What I do now is called Coaching for Inner Peace, and that name just came to me in a flash of inspiration. I didn't think about it. I didn't plan it. It just came together. Coaching for Inner Peace, and on one of my business cards, I don't have it anymore, but I have that statement: "Health is inner peace." That's the exact statement that I have. So yes. And I feel that inner peace, it's almost like we need to be, like, our minds are so trained to outside evidences. I was, the evidence of health is this, 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 and this. And if that's not there, then that's wrong. And then you have to fix it. And usually you try to fix it from the outside. But when we meet things like chronic pain or, let's say someone facing something that the world would say it's a terminal illness or it's incurable, those are the opportunities where we see that, okay, nothing I think that's going to work is going to work. And that brings us to the journey of inner peace. It really takes us inward. And it is a process of often a lot of working with shadow and working with, the demons and the dragons that live within, what the ego has created or the ego has made. And so really, you need a lot of support. You need a good community that can support you. You need teaching, such as the course, teachers. We need all of that, a lot of love to then be shown that inner peace has all the solutions we need. Because when that's there, then we just move in the world differently. We know our sources within. We know our, providence, divine wisdom, the mind of God has all the answers we need. So it's like you have to experience it, and no one can give it to you. But I hope through this book, that people can somehow have a bit of a little bit of a roadmap, and maybe my journey can be helpful to them because of the different challenges I faced. And in the book, I share other stories of healing as well that the world would say would be miraculous, and how they were all related to the decision in the mind to choose inner peace, from which the health of the body, the needs of the body, everything, is taken care of.
Yes, that's a very important discovery, that it's actually something going on in the mind. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
decision that you make in the mind. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I guess I had gone through this chronic pain experience for several years. And so, having gone through that, at times I was functional and able to do stuff, at times I wasn't. I had tried so many things. I got to that point. I remember this was like one of those, like this miracle where I said, the problem must be in the mind, because if it was just in the body, it would have taken care of itself. And I remember that was another one of those awakening moments. Like, yes. So, and I remember in the course, it says when you put the problem where it is and the solution where it is, you find the source. Like, that's it. The problem is there and the solution is right there, versus going outside. And there's something called level confusion, which is this idea where we think it's outside, so we keep looking for a solution outside. And again, that journey inward is needed. excuse me, but again, that journey, like I said, needs a lot of support as well, because it's hard to do when you're in a situation with pain. And when I was going through that, I had to look at many different places. And so one of the desires for me to write this book is, if someone was facing something like that, then perhaps this book could be a beginning step, or some beginning steps that would just give them a sense of solace and comfort and hope in possibility, that it is possible.
Yeah, many of us can use that. Yeah, because the other thing is that it's all in divine timing. So even if we make a decision in the mind, it doesn't mean that the physical will change automatically or right away. And
Yes.
we need to be able to trust in this process. It's like in the manual for teachers, Yeshua is speaking about healing. Is healing certain? Was the question. And he obviously says yes. And so that's a very important thing. We need to be able to say, yes, it is certain, no matter what we are facing or experiencing at this moment.
Yes, I'm really glad you said that, because again, that could be another way where we can judge ourselves. Like, I must be doing something wrong because this isn't healing, or this doesn't seem to be where I think it should be. And like I said, because my experience spanned over a lot of many years where, there was pain and it was better and it was better. I think it really helped me to understand that we have to be gentle with ourselves. And I remember when I was I had to, like, every week I had to take the garbage out. I had to do this thing, and I wasn't sure because I was in pain. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it. And every week I did, and it would be like one of those celebrations, like, you did this. This is great. I'm grateful for this. So I really had to take a lot of baby steps and be gentle. And whenever I sat in silence with spirit and I was joining, there was only love. Like, the judgments would come from the ego mind. The spirit, there was never judgment. Like, oh, you should be this or you should be that. It was never like that. And that really, like, opened me up to, wow, this is really letting go of fear. Like, this is what this is. And yet at the same time, I feel, because my mind had been so trained in the medical model, and there was just so many beliefs in sacrifice and unworthiness and guilt. There was just so much. It was just whatever was needed. It was just whatever seemed in seeming time, whatever was needed. And I'm just grateful that I didn't kind of feel like, well, I'm just going to give up, because of whatever. I'm glad, like, something, and I feel that was spirit, something just kept seeing me through, and a little bit of opening, a little bit of opening. So yeah, I'm really glad you said that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very important that we understand that trust is merited no matter what. Yeah, because if we start doubting that there is a source or a inner solution to everything, right? That the solution is already fulfilled, right? We get into this self-judgment, and every step gets judged. Everything gets judged that you're experiencing.
Yes,
And that really, really is more painful than the anything you're experiencing at that moment.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like, I found what was so healing is when I had those safe spaces with other mighty companions, that I could just express and share and unburden. And oftentimes I would do that through journaling also, because I would find that as I did that, like that course lesson, I'm never upset for the reason I think, there was always something else to be seen. There was something else to be
Mm-hmm.
exposed. And as I would expose it, I remember I would feel lighter. I would feel lighter. So I feel like this process of emptying the mind, like seeing all the meaning we've attributed to whatever experience we have, as the Course says, if you could allow yourself to let that go, then the hands of God will write the meaning that is to be there, and you will be indescribably happy. And that just like feels like, wow, that is so amazing. So our part really is to find those ways and places and opportunities to surround ourselves with places where we feel safe and can express and share, and not feel a sense of judgment. Because if there is judgment, then we're gonna shut down, and that's the opposite of healing.
Yes, yes. One of the main points I would like to make here about that is that we are the ones who are judging all the time, and we are also the ones who are not judging. So this
Yeah.
source of non-judgment, or this openness to ourselves, is also in us. And that's the voice we want to hear, we want to listen to.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And
the other voice is allowed to be there as long as it is. It's not a reason to judge ourselves for it.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just accept that voice that is saying loving things, and is actually not saying, "Oh, I'll do something to you if you don't do this, or if you don't let go of that judgment, I will attack you," and blah blah blah. It's the opposite. It's actually just accepting and welcoming it all in, because it's certain.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'd like to say that when I worked as a pediatrician, parents would talk about temper tantrums and their children having temper tantrums. And I feel like I would advise them, if you kind of just help the child make sure they're safe and they're not going to hurt someone else or hurt themselves, it'll usually pass. You almost don't want to give it more attention. And it's not an easy thing to do as a parent, but when we do that, we find that it does. It really does. And I feel like we can have that in our mind. There can be these ego storms. There can be these places where we have a lot of resistance and a lot is coming up. And the best thing we can do for ourselves, as you said, is to accept it, to just allow it. And this too shall pass, right? This too shall pass. And creating those containers of just love and space. And, getting, if we need help sometimes to do that, like to get the help we need, because sometimes we can't do it alone. So I know when I joined all those times with my brothers and sisters, it's like that voice for peace was strengthened each time. It was strengthened. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah,
That if one finds that, that's the best thing, right? Whether it's in yourself or in what we've thought was outside of us. But obviously our thoughts are so magnificent and so powerful that we can actually feel peace now, if we allow it to be there, right? It's there all the time anyways, but we
yeah,
can allow ourselves to see it. And yes, we don't have that all the time, and it's not a reason to judge ourselves for that. It's a reason to recognize that it's there nonetheless.
yes. Yes, like to be happy learners, as the course says, right? That we want to be happy learners, and we're all learning together or unlearning, depending on where we are. Yeah,
Yeah, or how we want to term it. I mean,
yeah,
I a previous podcast, I called it "Bringing the Dream to Life." I don't know if you've listened to it yet. Anyways, it's all about the stable place where you bring everything to. That
yeah,
stability, that safe place you bring
yes,
everything to, so you can bring the whole world to it.
yeah.
And that's the cool thing. You bring the world to peace, as I mentioned in the podcast.
Right. Like bringing all of our thoughts, ideas into that space versus thinking we have to take them somewhere with us. So, yes, that's beautiful because
Yeah.
in that space, they transform in our mind and then we have a different experience of them outside as well.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I say the course is a solution first um, teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Peaceful solutions from peace, love.
Because the solution is there already.
Right. Right.
Mm. You said you need to go soon. Would you like to tell our listeners where they can find your book, what it's called, and your name?
Sure. So my name is Khaneja. And my book is Physician, Heal Thyself, A Doctor's Journey from Medicine to Miracles. And it's on Amazon. There's a Kindle version as well as a paperback version. And my website is coachingforinnerpeace.com.
Perfect. Is there anything you would feel we should talk about now before we end the recording?
For your listeners, do you mean?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
yeah, well, I just want to extend just gratitude to you for doing this and inviting me and our joining. And also just wherever we are, whatever we may be facing, I'm just joining with all of us in that space of saying yes to love and saying yes to peace and yes to our worthiness to receive all the miracles we need along our path.
Yes, beautifully said.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'll be looking forward to talking again.
Absolutely. Definitely. Thanks so much.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So this was the first connecting of two siblings on this podcast, and I will be inviting others in the future. So, looking forward to that, and till next time.